Welcome to Fire Takes podcast where we give our fire-coded takes on the internet's most interesting stories. With me today is my lovely co-host, Gwen.
Co-host and wife.
Co-host and wife. Yes, all right. Yeah.
Thanks for having me today.
Yeah, we're going to have to establish, what is the non-offensive level. Maybe I'll listen to the last several episodes because we've gone overboard, we've gone underboard, and we really want to hit it right in the middle. How it is very important that you're my co-host. It is super important that you're my wife. And I want to register both of those things.
Maybe. With me today is my co-host and wife, Gwen.
Oh, there you go. Right. So put them on equal billing.
Yeah.
But even that seems off though, right?
Well, I mean, the fact that I am your wife is much more important than the fact that I'm your co-host.
It is true, but...
My co-host on the podcast and in life.
Okay. But in the first 10 seconds of this podcast, is it not more important that you're my co-host than my wife?
I mean, in this very narrow, specific application, I guess.
Yeah. It's not black and white. There's nuance. There's layers to it. It's like an onion.
Or an ogre.
All right.
Well.
All of that to say, we are just back from Econome. If we seem a little punchy, we've had a long, wonderful weekend.
A lot of alcohol.
A little alcohol. We are just back. We drove today. It is Monday after Econome. So we wanted to get on the mic. We wanted to deliver our takes on Econome. I know we saw a lot of our listeners there. Maybe found some new listeners there. We're really excited about those of you who are joining us for the first time after we talked at Econome. So really excited to share this podcast and all of our fun we're having here with everyone we're talking to and all of our listeners.
I love that even after 5 years later, after Fire Drill, people are still coming up to me going, "Oh, I just loved your old podcast." And then to see the pure joy on their face when I'm like, guess what? I have a podcast still. And they're like, what?
But wait, there's more.
There's more.
There's more, Gwen. If you thought you were missing her, we'll get you straightened out.
I got you.
We got you.
Welcome. So glad to have you here.
Yes. All right.
So, Tim, what were your main takeaways from Econome this weekend?
Sure. Well, the first one is the people. As I told a lot of people this weekend, this was my third Econome. My first Econome, we'd only been dating. I hadn't only known you for 6 months. And my first Econome, I really felt like I had to be attached at the hip. I didn't know anybody. Obviously, no one knew me. Everyone knew you. So that was kind of an interesting dynamic to becoming. And here I am with this minor celebrity.
Very narrow application.
Narrow application celebrity. Now, my second time at Econome, right, I did know some people. I really hadn't spread my wings in the FI community altogether, right? So I still felt maybe anxiety wandering beyond the few friends that I had that you had introduced me to. So I spread out a little bit more than that first year, but I still felt fairly attached to you. And this Econome, I really made it a point to be mindful about talking to the people that I knew, people making sure I was making those new connections and developing connections with people that maybe I had met, but I hadn't really gotten to know outside of just being your partner. So I thought I did a fairly decent job of spreading my wings there and getting involved in more of the community. And I really enjoyed that. And obviously, the thing that we go to Econome for is the people, right? It is to see our friends, see our, as Kristen often calls it, our tribe, right? Of these people that we can make these connections with so fast, just because we've got this at least one common thread we can attach and we can connect through that thread. And that's really powerful. And I really enjoyed the people. So that's my first big takeaway.
My first takeaway was also the people. You know, we have friends scattered all throughout the country, and it's just so great to be able to see our friends and just hang out without life getting in the way. We can just hang out, and it doesn't matter about work or kids because we're all just here hanging out, having fun, having a good time. And also, like you said, getting to meet new people. We've met some really awesome, cool people at Econome and other FI events. And it's like, why can't you all live in St. Louis? You know? Why do you have to be so far away? So definitely enjoyed our time staying way, way up past our bedtime and drinking far more alcohol than we have basically all the rest of the year.
Yeah.
And just generally having a really good time hanging out with people.
Yeah. But although speaking of St. Louis, that was another big change for me is getting involved with our local Choose a Fi group. And we had a great St. Louis contingency at Econome.
People were like, everybody's from St. Louis. Jeez.
Yeah. So we represented, and that was awesome to have all of our friends that we get to see every month that were there. And that's just another level of connection that we've made with some of those people. While it's important to reconnect to those people that we see once a year, it was great to have that foundation. And whenever you needed something a little bit more familiar and you wanted to get back into your comfort zone, it was great to have that group from St. Louis. I really appreciate hanging out with you guys.
314 represent.
The next thing, my next big takeaway from Econome is obviously the speakers. We had some really good speakers. I felt inspired by several of them. Obviously, I don't think that the point of the speakers in Econome is to be inspired or reach a connection with every speaker. But I think if you have 2 or 3 or 4 that really inspire you to make a change in your life, then I think that's a fair mix. And I think Diana does a good job of finding that diverse set of speakers to make sure that everybody has their 3 or 4, right?
Yeah, 100%. You know, Diana did a good job finding speakers when some of them just make you really uncomfortable in the best way possible because they're talking about real estate and you were speaking 2 years ago about how much real estate didn't work for you.
Yeah.
So, you know, that was fun. But yeah, it was great. I went in blind. I didn't know who any of the speakers were. I didn't look up beforehand because I wanted to be surprised. Mm-hmm. I wanted that first genuine look and reaction, and it worked great. Sunday morning when one of the speakers sprung up onto stage and I went, oh fuck, this one's for me. And it was all about writing a book.
Yeah, that one definitely had your name on it, and hopefully it inspired you to get back into the swing of writing your book and made you feel inspired and ready to read that thing you were really passionate about, you know, maybe 6 months ago, and maybe has gone back burner since then.
I don't know if inspired is the right word or called out is the correct phrase there. But either way, I will be working on it. Again, that is one of my takeaways from Econome this year.
Yeah. No, it was great. And we had a great conversation on the way in the car on the way back of like, hey, what were your 2 or 3 takeaways? What life changes are you going to be making from Econome? Other than re-engaging on book writing, did you have another one of those you would like to share?
Yeah, we got great marital advice from Barbara Sloan.
Oh, yeah.
It was good to see Barbara again. And she recommended a book by the Gottmans called Fight Right. So we also listened to that in the car on the way home before my brain shut down and I passed out from just sheer exhaustion. So we will continue to listen to that and deepen our relationship. Although, Barbara, we're already doing so many of these things that they listen to the book just naturally, so that's good. We are fighting right. But let's see what else.
You want to fight about it? Or
Yeah, you want to fight? I think changing some of my investment strategies around is something that I feel inspired to do. Investing more in women, investing more locally, and just talking to a lot of people about more quality in my life. So higher quality, less quantity. Yeah. So I think we might buy a new mattress that's locally made here in St. Louis. I am going to look around and see if there's a CSA for some fresh local food that we might be able to join for 1 or 2 parts of the summer. Yeah, I think that was really good to like reconfirm that part and get inspired on that angle of life.
I think that was really important. And I really felt connected to that talk on the more ethical investing and why it's a good idea on money levels. So
yeah, she knocked that out of the park.
Yep.
And then the other thing that was a takeaway for us was from the Pioneers. We attended both their talk and the session that they hosted in the afternoon. And maybe we do not have to have the exact same timeline for our retirement. Is that maybe there's some wiggle room once we figure out the kind of numbers and commitments from our finances. And that We don't know what a normal year of expenses look like yet for both of us. Last year was just so abnormal with all of the expenses that we did with the renovations and the wedding and the honeymoon and the big party. We can pretty much guarantee that it won't be any higher than it was last year.
That's true.
And we can pretty much guarantee that it's going to be lower in some fashion.
Yeah. And I think the big takeaway I got from the Pioneers was it's important to just game out the scenarios, right? Like, I think that when Jessica was talking about the various scenarios they looked at and, if we did this, it would only impact our final FI retirement number by a year. And just gaming out the scenarios. And instead of just saying, hey, we're going to work 10 more years and knowing that we're going to be solid, like that's an easy, I don't even have to do the math to know that's going to work, right? But like, okay, well, what happens at 5? What happens at 7? What happens at 3? And just knowing those numbers and knowing what if you stop at 5 and I go to 10. And gaming out all those scenarios and getting the numbers and having those numbers, I think is super empowering. And it could make us feel just more resolved and settled in the path that we're on, whatever that might be.
Yeah. What does it look like if we decide to buy a new $80,000 electric van? Looking at you,
right?
VW.
Oh yeah.
The Buzz van.
Yeah. What would happen if we did that?
The happiness quotient of your wife would go sky high.
Just out of left field, like.
And maybe I would work another year to cover that.
Oh, okay. You could work another year to buy a $80,000 car. Cool.
Yeah. Maybe. I don't know. We're going to have to talk about it.
But the point is, that is something that is important. That excites you, is to get this new VW van.
It looks so cool. It's electric.
It's super cool.
Boogie, woogie, woogie.
I agree. It is pretty cool. But having that knowledge of what are the impacts of that purchase. And
is it worth working more? Do I want to work longer to cover that? Or do I want to be done with work sooner, Right. And Jessica even showed that exact scenario, right? Their camper van. It was like they looked at it and they understood the impact of it, and then they made the purchase. Yep.
Yeah. No, I think that was a great takeaway and a great call to action, and we're definitely going to be doing that.
Also, I would just like to point out that we each independently came up with our takeaways, and it's so funny to see how they're aligned.
Yeah, they were fairly aligned. My other takeaway I actually got during Frank's talk, of all places.
Frank who?
Frank Vasquez. The Frank the Tank. Francis from Lighten Up. Notoriety.
We love you, Frank.
Love Frank. But he was talking about drawdown strategies in retirement, which are completely not applicable to us right now. But he also talked about the areas of your life which were important to invest. And one of them was relationships and your friends. And that inspired me. I was thinking through how I can be more thoughtful and more intentional with reaching out to my friends and making sure that I'm reaching out to friends that are interested in being reciprocal, and making sure like that I can maintain some of these relationships that are important to me, or work on those relationships. Maybe travel. He talked about traveling to go to a baseball game, which wasn't super important to him, but it was super important to meet with that friend. So like just opening up my aperture on what kind of trips and travel I can do to make sure that I'm maintaining these connections that are important to me.
Yeah. And we got asked by people, when are you going to come to New York? When are you going to come to DC? When are you going to come back to Longmont? And it's like, I don't know, but you are important to us, and we want to nurture that friendship and keep that alive. So we will see how we can fit that in and make that a priority.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes to all the above, and super excited to do it. And yeah, I think that should be a bigger priority in our life. And I want to continue to do it. We have already signed up for next year. We talked about how we went into this blind, not knowing who the speakers are. And we've signed up for Econome blind, not knowing who the speakers are. We believe in Diana. She will find interesting stuff. But even if she doesn't, even if for that 4 hours in the morning on Saturday, it's just everybody come together and chat, I know that the people that are going to be there are going to be super interesting and people I want to talk to. So
yep.
It hardly matters. And we are signed in. We are locked, ready to go.
In Diana, we trust.
But also, Diana, please take a vacation and a break and sleep,
because this is a lot of work to pull off every year. And we are so grateful that she can do this for all of us every year.
Yep. And if you haven't done it yet, fill out your survey for Diana. I think it means a lot to her. And
yes.
I have not done it yet either. I will be doing it at some point this week. But a reminder to all of you guys as well. Do your economy surveys.
Don't forget, Google reviews are her love language.
Oh, yeah. Google reviews too. So aside from economy, I'm really just excited to continue to do these FI events. Like, this community continues to excite me and make me want to get out and travel and see people and hang out and, do kind of what I need to do to get where the people are, right? Like, I'm having fun. We're going to FinCon this fall. Obviously, our St. Louis meetups, just getting out and seeing these people is always a good time, always really exciting and a lot of fun.
I'm going to call you Ariel.
Ariel.
I want to be where the people are. But, I mean, it's really cool because, like, I would never have taken a cruise by myself. I really have wanted to go to Alaska for a really long time, and here we are going to Alaska on a cruise with Amberly and the FinTalks group.
Yep.
So you have Kristen doing all these really cool trips to Spain and Morocco and down the Danube, everywhere with Five Friends Travel. And then you've got Amy Minkley doing the Bali retreat.
Yeah.
There's so many more opportunities to do events and go places with people in the FI community more than ever now.
Yep. Yeah, those are great travel opportunities. I think what we'll have to balance is, do we do a big trip to Bali, or do we do a lot of trips? We do our New York and Colorado and all these little small trips. And maybe it's yes and I'd love for it to be yes and eventually.
I think we will probably have to wait a little bit on Bali just because it takes a day and a half just to get there.
Yeah.
So if you're going to travel for 3 days, you might as well stay for a while. Right. And with our childcare obligations and our work obligations, I don't necessarily see that being super practical for us.
Yeah.
While we're still working full-time jobs. But maybe, you never know. We would definitely love to go.
Right. That's the big thing is, like, I'd love to do all of this stuff. I'd love to yes and all of these opportunities, but we got to prioritize and select.
And then we also have to prioritize, like, our own vacations and relaxing, because I can definitely speak to the fact that going to FI events for all of your vacation time of work is not super sustainable, and that we do need time to relax and kick back with just the two of us.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's a good point. We got to make sure we keep that going too.
Love you guys, but I also love all-inclusive resorts on the beach with my husband.
Well, that was great, but let's go ahead and do a couple of stories today so we can still get the flavor of Fire Takes, give our takes on some of the spiciest stories on the internet.
Give the people what they want.
That's right. That's
ridicule.
Why you're here, right? This first one is from Our Relationships. It is my 28 female, fiancé, 29 male, has committed financial infidelity. We've been together for 10 years. For at least the last 5, he has been lying to me about his finances.
Oof.
5 years ago, we bought our house, and it was uncovered that he was in a lot of credit card debt. I helped him to pay this down, probably around $11,000 to $13,000. I ended up putting majority of the down payment on the house since he lied and wasn't saving any money at all. My credit score is excellent. I don't have debt other than student loans. We buy the house. I think I can trust him now that the cat was out of the bag. We move on with our lives. All is well. Fast forward to this year. About 2 weeks ago, he comes to me and he tells me he is $40,000 in credit card debt, and he doesn't have a dollar to his name. We make the same amount of money, around $80,000 a year, and we paid off his debt a few years ago, or so I thought. So I am hella confused and dumbfounded and shocked. He tells me he was lying to me back then, that he had more. Not sure I believe this because the finances are put out in the open when buying the house. Anyway, I'm not totally sure because it was so many years ago, but I just don't think it was this bad. Plus, I helped him pay it all down. So the situation now is this. We are 6 months from our wedding.
Oh, fuck.
We're 6 months from our wedding when he drops this bomb on me. He has no money for the wedding. He has no money at all. He's been lying to me for the least 5 years. He admits that. I have helped him with this once before, and I feel like it'd be stupid to get into this situation again.
Mm-hmm.
I will lose him, my best friend, and all I've known for the last 10 years, as I have no family. I lose my house. I lose everything I've worked for by ending this. The other option is to become his parent, monitoring all of his expenses, his paycheck, his credit reports, giving him an allowance. To be honest, I don't want that for myself. That isn't partnership to me. I've always felt like the separate finances worked for us. That way I can buy whatever and he can buy whatever without us getting annoyed at the other. I like to shop, which is why this is so ironic. I'm the one who buys clothes, books, makeup, etc., and I have zero debt still. He has nothing to show for this debt he's in. He claims it's interest from years of making minimum payments. But like I said, I don't remember it being this much 5 years ago. He denies a gambling problem, but the math isn't mathing for this. I know he's made bets on things like FanDuel, and gambling addiction does run in his family. However, we spend all our time together, so I have no idea how he could be gambling if that were the case. Another tidbit, we always put half our paychecks into a joint account, and this account is where expenses come out of, such as mortgage, bills, etc. It's never been a problem. I have plenty of money left over for savings and fun. I assume he was in the same boat as me. So my question is this. What the fuck do I do? I'm torn. I do love this, but the lying for half the relationship, that's frightening, isn't it? Do we pick up the pieces? Wedding will need to be canceled regardless, or walk away. Am I a freaking idiot for trusting the person I love to be able to handle their money? He's my best friend. I want to help them, but I'm also so mad at him for all of this. Wow.
Oh, boy.
How old is she? She's 28. He's 29.
29.
So they've been together since 18 and 19. So they were children when they got together.
He's still a child.
Yeah, they're still, right. Well, he was 19 whenever they bought the house. They went down to 0, right?
Yeah.
So they bought the house 5 years in. So he was 24, say, when they buy the house, with only $13,000 of credit card debt. That's not that horrible. Like, if the story was correct, like, okay, in my early 20s, I racked up $12,000 in credit card debt. We sorted it out. We bought a house. Like, if that was the end of the story, that seems pretty reasonable, right? Like, okay, cool. He was not good with money in his early 20s, but here we go, forward together as a team.
Yeah, right. That's fine, right?
Right.
Like, that's understandable. That's even fairly reasonable. It wasn't that much.
Yep. But another 40 in the next 5 years, another $40,000 in credit card debt.
And it's online gambling.
It's gotta be.
It's
right?
gotta be.
Yeah. $40,000 in credit card debt plus half of his money, right? That's going to whatever the heck he wants to do with it, right?
Yeah.
So with nothing to show for it, it's gotta be. There's no way it's not online gambling.
Yeah. And his family has a history of addiction.
Yep. And this whole, like, I'm with him all the time. I see him. He doesn't do it. We've seen these stories, right?
Are you with him on the toilet?
Right.
Are you with him at work on the toilet?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Is the non-gambling partner in the room with us now? But we listened to the John Oliver show, right? Where he's talking about sports betting. And is that where he talked about the boy that was like under 18? He was like a teenager, right?
I think so.
And he got a hold of an account and just went through almost $1 million, just basically making bets at school.
And making bets at 2 a.m.
Yeah. It's not like he has to go up to some big machine and pull a lever, right? It's just he's playing on his phone and there goes $20,000, right? And it's gone.
And I mean, with her partner living in the same house as her, I would be running my credit or freezing my credit immediately if he has access to my social security number and my information, because he's used his credit so far, but addiction does not stop. And if he doesn't fix his gambling issue by going to, what was it, Gamblers Anonymous?
Yeah, I think it's just Gamblers Anonymous.
And like really commit to a change, and she cannot help him pay that debt down. He has to say, I'm going to take accountability for this. I'm going to pay it down. Like, that's the only way that I would see that working out. But honestly, that's so, like, the chances of that happening are so few and far between.
You have got to throw out the whole man in this.
Got to throw out the whole man.
But the top comment here is in the fact that he's still lying about where it came from is proof that he isn't even trying to fix this. He's just trying to get away with it again.
Yeah.
And I think that's true, right? He's not coming with remorse, or he just got to the end of his rope, right? At the end of his credit, and he's come bail me out yet again, and then marry me so that you can bail me out for the rest of my life. Like that's a bad idea.
Yeah. Somebody says, as your best friend is someone who has lied, cheated, and stolen from you, I hate to imagine how badly your less important friends treat you. Financial infidelity is sending his mom $1,000 or so. This is a different league. Now let's add in the fact that he's still lying to you. He knows where the money went. Drugs, gambling, or sex workers are the obvious black holes for that amount of money. You are not going to be happy in the long term if you marry this person. He is not a partner in life. And like maybe losing the love of his life is going to be the wake-up call that he needs to snap out of it. But I think this bridge with her is pretty well blown up to smithereens.
Right. She needs to get clear of this, but no, he is 100% going to find another woman and drag her down. Like, I don't believe that like someone like this takes this away as a lesson and then fixes himself whenever they can just find someone else. I mean, he's only 29.
Also, think of the sob story he could tell. My fiance broke up with me 6 months before our wedding out of nowhere. I don't know why.
Oh, yeah. Yep. I borrowed money from her and got a ring, and then she threw me out.
I don't want to sound harsh here, but like we see all these stories all the time. Oh my goodness.
Right. The fact that she is right here pre-wedding, right? Like this is the optimal time to make a choice. Is this something I want for the rest of my life to be? Right. This is all she's known. She was 18 when these guys got together. So I give OP the grace right here that it's hard, right? When all you know is this one fucking guy.
This one. Yeah.
Yeah. Not great.
Nope.
Get out.
All right. Well, let's go to a lighthearted story here to round this episode out before we get too depressed.
Okay. Our last story is from the subreddit r/fire, and it is titled Being Friends with Non-Savers.
Can you imagine?
Could you imagine? My spouse and I just moved to a new high cost of living area for a new job and spent quite a bit of money to break our lease and move up here as the company did not pay for it. It's a long-term strategic move, but the short term of losing $20,000 sucks. I am realizing that in order to make friends with people these days, meeting in a public space at a coffee shop or restaurant is really important to stay social. I'm a bit concerned at the cost of eating out here. One of my new friends is a self-described foodie, and she eats out a lot. I am concerned that my money is going to go towards food out instead of cooking at home, which is something I really enjoy. She also shared her interest, which include a lot of other expensive things. Don't get me wrong, they sound fun, but they cost a lot of money. We aren't really in a position to be spending, and in general, we like to save as we're on board with FIRE. How can we make friends and have a social life and save if we are friends with people who like to spend money? I guess I'm concerned that I have to choose between saving and being lonely, spending and being not lonely. Well.
I mean, this is like a new friend, right? Like this isn't your best friend since kindergarten kind of thing. You can just be like, hey, I like to really cook at home. Would you be interested in trying out the Kitchen Mikasa restaurant? And I cook for you?
Yeah, I mean, that's one way to go about it, right? Is to take this friend and try to build a relationship around your values with this friend. The other way to go about this, right, is to look for friends in specific spaces like her Choosify local group, right? You know, where even in high cost of living areas, there are Choosify groups. We met people saying that they were Phi in New York, which, okay, more power to you.
Madly impressive.
Yeah, mad props. Very high cost of living area and still pursuing Phi. And I'm sure that those people want friends, right? And people to hang out with. and they might not be able to afford to go out to New York restaurants every night. So
also, there's the paradox that exists in high cost of living areas that there are lots of free events that go on in high cost of living areas. Music at the park, plays at the park, meetups of all different kinds, art galleries that you can walk through. There are so many more opportunities for free things or low-cost things in a high-cost living area. It seems paradoxical, but having lived in a high-cost living area, I can tell you that it is possible to do that fairly cheaply without spending all your money in restaurants. You need to find that third space where you can exist without having to spend money.
Yep. And we've given this same advice whenever we talked about dating, right? Is go out, do the things you like to do. You will find people who also like to do those things. And that's really where the friends can be made.
Yep.
And connections, right?
Yeah. Go play kickball. Who knows? You may meet your husband.
Who knows?
I mean, this isn't applicable for OP of this story because she's already married, but that's not the point.
Stranger things have happened.
Like, can you imagine?
Could you imagine? But yeah, no, I think that just using that same advice, right? Go out, do things that you want to do that fit your financial goals and priorities, and then you'll find other people who can fit into your financial goals and priorities. Now, with this friend, this person she's already found, right? She's jiving with him except for this financial spot. We've got a really good comment here. Top comment is, just be honest. I have a foodie friend and I told her, hey, instead of grabbing brunch, do you want to go for a walk? When we met up to walk, I thanked her for meeting up and said I'm not really into eating out, which is true, not just due to cost. But I'm always down to hang out. She totally understood, and now we go for walks weekly. I've told other friends that I'd prefer to save money right now, and again, they completely understand. We do free museums, walks, college sporting events, etc. that cost nothing more than time, and we're still close. If you do want to go out with groups of friends, limit yourself to one food item or drink. Start including it in your budget. Real friends won't care. So I think that's the big hitter, right? Like, if this is your friend, just be honest with them. Tell them what you want to do.
Yeah, I'm impressed that comment and my reaction were very similar.
Sure.
But that's what happens when you fire in a high-cost living area. Like, you figure out these hacks. Someone said, also, you might enjoy this one, search for a local board game group. It can be a very inexpensive hobby and involves a lot of personal interaction. And can be very inexpensive if you don't look at their shelf of 100 plus $75 games.
No, board gaming is a traditionally frugal hobby. But yes, I can kind of look over across the room here.
Also, the comment of that is, I'm not being funny here, and I don't mean to cast aspersions on you or your hobby, but OP should be aware that it's common enough to be a stereotype. There's a lot of overlap between board game people and polyamory for some reason. I learned this against my will when trying to make new friends in a major East Coast city.
What? I have never encountered that.
The people that usually do board games are not even necessarily married people.
Right?
Let alone...
That is...
Although I will say, having lived in a major East Coast city, that I don't think polygamists need board game groups to recruit people.
Yeah, that's true, right?
That's like, what dating apps are for in East Coast.
Maybe it's more of a major East Coast city thing than a board game thing. Because, here in the Midwest, I've not encountered polyamory and board game in the same space.
No.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. For even those who are monogamous, board gaming is a great hobby. And you will find many monogamous friends who do it.
Would you like to play a game?
Would you like? Yeah, despite the strange pineapple that was floating around Econome-I.
Oh no. I think that we should probably end this soon before we dig ourselves in too deep.
Yeah, that's fair. All right. This has been our Econome flavored episode of Fire Taste Podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We sure enjoyed recording it.
See you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Fire Takes Podcast. Wanted to remind you that this is an entertainment podcast. Gwen and I, not financial planners, just opinionated. There are many ways to reach us if you just go to firetakespod.com, including email, Instagram, Reddit, YouTube. You can hear more from Gwen at fierymillennials.com. Thanks for joining us. Bye.